How does Rick leave The Walking Dead, and what does it mean for the future of the show? That's what we're going to be talking about in this post-season 9 episode 5 discussion, and if you haven't seen the episode yet, turn away now because we're going to be talking about all the spoilers. Awesome. I'm Lauren, and I'm joined by Sam.
Hello.
And yeah, kick us off. What happened in the latest episode of The Walking Dead?
So Rick has finally left The Walking Dead, or has he? So in episode 5, he seems to be going through some more mental trauma, which seems to be the way he reacts to most things, and I think probably I would if I'd been stabbed in the tummy, to be fair. But he goes back through a lot of his history. He goes back and meets Shane again, and Herschel, and other key characters from his past. And eventually he's sort of working to lead this huge horde of zombies away from the group. And it comes to a point where he's left on a bridge with all the zombies behind him. He's failing, he's fading fast, he's bleeding out, and suddenly the zombies are about to be upon him, and some arrows appear, and hurrah! Daryl's come to save the day, because everyone secretly loves Rick after all the differences they've had. And Rick decides that the way to end it all is actually to shoot some dynamite, which happens to be lying on a bridge, and blow himself and the zombie horde to absolute smithereens.
Yeah. I mean, we'll get to whether that's actually possible in a bit, but that's not even the end.
No.
Because then it turns out that he isn't blown up, but he kind of survives and is found on the riverbank by Judith, who
he's now Anne or whatever her name is.
Yeah. And takes him off in a helicopter, and he's a bee.
He's a bee.
The whole A and B thing that's been going on in this season of The Walking Dead, Jadis has dubbed Rick a bee, and they pop him on the helicopter and fly off to
unknown locations.
Before the episode ends with a time jump.
At which now Judith is now the saviour of all the group.
Yeah.
Because of course she is.
Yeah. Suffice to say, it was an interesting episode. Perhaps not for the right reasons, but there was a lot going on there. But yeah, before we get on to anything else, how do you feel about his exit from the show? Is that satisfying to you? Did you want to see him die?
I feel like it's always a cop-out to leave it open-ended, and because we've known for so long that he's going to leave the show, the fact that he is sort of being transported somewhere with Jadis just seems a bit odd. Is he going to come back? Are we going to be waiting for the sort of the closure for that storyline for multiple seasons to come now? I don't like the fact that it always feels like we're waiting for something with The Walking Dead, and to have that sort of hanging over us now seems a bit odd. But I did like the fact that they sort of went back through his story, and you realise how far the series has come from season 1. There has been so many beats and characters that we've lost and loved along the way. Yeah. I liked that it was sort of a celebration of his past, but
it felt like a fitting tribute to the character and to the show. But yeah, like you say, maybe a bit of a slight cop-out, because I think we kind of knew that he was maybe not going to die, because obviously there was... When Andrew Lincoln talked about it at Comic-Con, he sort of said, I'm far from done with this character. And, AMC has been making noises about wanting to do, an expanded universe for a while. So I can't say it was particularly shocking. And I am kind of okay with it as well. But, like you say, because of the time jump and, the fact that AMC's now announced these movies that he's going to be heading up, it kind of does raise the question of, how long's Rick been gone, and would he really be that far away from his family for that long?
Yeah, because if he knows that he has the opportunity to go back and see his daughter who was left behind, and Michonne, the love of his life, wouldn't you want to go back and see them, or at least let them know that you're alive?
Yeah, so I feel like these movies are just going to be him trying to get back to them, which I don't know if I really want to see 3 movies of that. Or
is it going to be wherever he's going to is going to be dealt with in a movie, in which case it's not going to be addressed at all in the show now? That's going to be a weird dissonance between the TVs and the movies, and are you going to go have to see the movie in order to find out what happens to Rick and Jadis? Seems a bit odd.
Yeah, it does. And like you say as well, it kind of depends on the time frame of the movies. I mean, obviously we don't really know anything about them now, but you would kind of assume that it's going to be covering this time where he's, been away from his family. And yeah, unless I don't know, maybe they're going to give him amnesia, so he's not going to remember his family and just going to call himself Steve and have a different kind of Walking Dead adventure in these movies.
I kind of want that to happen now.
I mean, I think that would be more interesting at this point.
Yeah, like the Rick Grimes story has been going on a long time, and it's interesting like how far they've deviated from the comics now. It kind of does leave it open for interpretation and for news stories to emerge, but yeah, I'm just so frustrated with an open ending. Just like kill him off, or just he could have just been blown up and like his hat had been left behind or something. Like there could have
something
been like
more
a little
ambiguous
hint of something, rather than sort of seeing him seemingly unharmed as well, being carried away by a helicopter with not a scratch on him. Like,
yeah, he looked pretty good.
yeah,
like considering
tiny bit of blood in his head. Like I feel like I'd want to look a little bit more burnt if I'd been in a massive explosion with a lot of dynamite. Seems a bit.
Well, what can we speculate on where he's going? Like, we know he's basically being taken to the place where, you know, the helicopter people are, as I'm going to call them. The mysterious
helicopter people are.
And they've got this whole thing going on with, like, picking up A's and B's, and we're not quite sure, like, what the difference is between those people, and Anne/Judith has been working with them for that. My gut is kind of like it's a research facility or something.
Yeah, because we're way back in season 1 where they sort of went and had that amazing like shower fest with a scientist. I can't remember what it was called now, but like maybe there's more of that somewhere. And like where are they getting all the fuel for these helicopters from, and how is her blinking walkie-talkie still working? Like there's so many questions around like how that's all still working. Like how many years into the apocalypse are we now? Like enough for someone to have given birth and Judith to be several years old. Like how have they kept the resources going for that long to still have helicopters? Like,
I assume maybe by just keeping it really undercover. Because like as soon as people know that you've got resources, like you become a target. So perhaps the way they have survived is by like keeping low undercover and like trying to figure out like, I don't know, like a zombie cure or something like that. And
also, why Jadis? That's always been the question, because obviously she was like an artist beforehand. Well, how has she suddenly become like an undercover military agent or something?
Yeah, that is really odd actually. I mean, I wish I could say we'll get the answer to these questions.
But we might not.
We might not. I sometimes feel like we think about it more than some people working on the show do.
So many questions.
But one thing that has always bothered me about the show is that I feel like it is quite unrealistic that there isn't some sort of kind of government-led research facility, like army base in the show. Because, like, I get it, like it was really, really bad and everything's kind of broken down and it is quite far into the apocalypse now and there aren't such things as roads anymore and stuff like that. But I just don't feel like that's the US government. Like, I feel like they would definitely have some people with guns in a bunker somewhere, right?
Absolutely, because I'm sure in actual real life, people are preparing for, if not a zombie apocalypse, but some kind of epidemic or something like that. And like, it's fact that these things happen and there are contingency plans. So where is the zombie contingency plan in The Walking Dead?
So I would quite like it if actually that's what it turns out to be, is like it's some kind of like government organisation kind of like working towards like, I don't know, bringing society back, hopefully.
Well, some semblance of society anyway. And I would like to see the sort of contrast between the people who have got their shit together and then like Rick's old group, or whatever we call them now, being led by Maggie or Judith or someone else. Like the contrast between those two would be quite interesting, especially to sort of feel the tensions between them, especially if they sort of start to realise that they exist. Yeah,
because they would have effectively like left the people to die.
Yeah,
you know, like they probably did it because they didn't have it, like they only had a certain amount of resource and you can't save everyone. But the like keeping yourself secret, working behind the scenes, like kidnapping people effectively for what we can only assume is maybe experiments to try and find a cure, like that's some pretty shady business. Like I don't think they're going to be okay with that.
Right?
It's not okay.
Maybe Eugene was right all along. Maybe he was like a scientist trying to get to wherever he was. I hate him. But
Eugene was right. End of the show.
And everyone just goes, yeah, I'm done now. Officially done.
Just before we wrap up, should we have a quick talk about Grown Up Judith?
Yeah.
What did you think about that?
I don't know. I'm still trying to process it, but I joke, but genuinely we had a discussion like at the end of season 8 about like, oh, imagine if Judith turns out to be like the new ringleader and it's actually potentially happening. Like, how, like, she can't just be the new Carl. That just seems like a cop out. Like, or should I say Carl? But how are they gonna like?
Yeah,
she can't just be the new like leader or like going out there and like, how can new groups take a 8-year-old girl, 10-year-old girl seriously? And how is that going to affect the group? What's happened to everyone in like a? It's got to be a fairly substantial time jump for her to be that old.
Yeah, it's got to be huge. And you're right. I was definitely getting a vibe that she was the new Carl. And like,
she's got the hat.
She's got. I mean, it doesn't take much to be fair, but yeah. And like, on the one hand, I kind of love it because babies are boring. Like young kids in shows, especially like action zombie shows like this, are just so boring because, like, a lot of shows shy away from killing them off, despite how obviously vulnerable they are, because that's just a little bit too close to the bone for some shows. But especially then it's like
she dies pretty graphically in the
comics
does she?
As
well.
I don't actually know the comics.
So
like,
when the mum dies, basically they're trying to escape the prison in the comics, and oh my god, Laurie is carrying the newly born baby Judith, and she gets shot in the back, and the bullet goes through them both. And like what happens is like she falls down and Judith actually suffocates under her mum's dead body. Like, it's pretty horrendous. So the fact now that she's like this sort of grown-up girl who's obviously taking a huge role in going forward is kind of massive. And also like, because of all the other children that we've had apart from Carl have been these sort of whimpering Carol crutches. Like, it'd be nice to see like a strong young character. And
absolutely, because like kids are quite hard to do in shows like this, like I'll give them that, but I don't feel like The Walking Dead's had a great run with it so far, and this is definitely an opportunity to kind of rectify that. But like I can't see her being like any kind of realistic leader. I assume
she's still a baby.
I
really?
assume Michonne is in charge, and like Judith was just out, having a stroll, and she's
with her gun,
and she's capable. She's clearly capable because she's grown up in this world.
She doesn't know anything different, I guess. She's the only one
like,
who doesn't.
That's
from
just
baby Herschel.
Like that's just her life, isn't it? And like, and Herschel will be the same as well. Like, I'm quite keen to see him because obviously he'll be grown up as well. But like, it's interesting because I do think making the kids grow up, it kind of allows them to be new characters with like still having that connection to the old characters, but
a new era almost.
A new era, but it's such a huge time jump that it really does beg the question, where the hell's Rick been if he's not dead, and why has he not been trying to get back to them this whole time?
Because surely he'd care, right? Unless something's happened to his head, but maybe he has descended into madness.
It's amnesia.
Come on, Steve.
We're going to see the great adventures of Steve in The Walking Dead in these movies.
Steve and Anne, they got married. They're really happy. They're living in their military bunker. And they all live happily zombie ever after.
Before we get too far off the track here, let's wrap this up. But like those are our thoughts after watching The Walking Dead Season 9, Episode 5. Let us know what you think in the comments below, and if you've any questions, post those there as well, and we can get a little bit of a discussion going.
If you want more Walking Dead content from us, don't forget to hit those buttons on the left and hit that big button in the middle to subscribe for more news, reviews, previews and more from us here at Games Radar Plus.